Vitamin water was born in New York because New Yorkers wanted more flavor to pair with all the amazing food in the city. You can have the best meal in the world here, if you can get a reservation. Vitamin water is so New York. Its 3 favorite cheeses are chopped cheese, bacon, egg, and cheese, and a slice of cheese pizza. We know where to get the best sushi in the city, and best nachos, and best bagels, and best... You get it. And you can find food trucks better than 5-star restaurants. Drink Vitamin water. It's from New York.
Welcome to Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick. I'm Mo, and every week I'm asking today's most captivating artists how they got their acts together. This show is not about their best or most famous work. It's about the work that means the most to them, their creative process, and why they make their art in an effort for us to understand how we can make ours. This week's guest is a New York-based comedian. You've seen him at venues like Union Hall and Club Cumming, and he's currently on tour with his one-man show, I Have to Do This, directed by Charlie Bardet. Please welcome to the pod, Richard Perez. Ready, set, show!
Hello.
Hi, love. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm so happy to be Gavin. It's been a minute.
I know. It's been so long. I literally think it's been... I feel like the last time we talked, we were hey, hanging out was maybe before lockdown. Yeah.
Oh, socially hanging out? Yeah, before lockdown, for sure.
Yeah. And then I remember I got on an Instagram Live with you.
Yes! Oh my God.
Yeah.
Listeners do not know about that. I had an Insta Live show briefly in the pandemic for a few months there called What I Like About Me. And wonderful comedians and friends came on and they just had to talk about the qualities of themselves that they liked the most. And it was so much fun.
Yeah. So sweet.
I love that. Wait, I forget. What was yours?
I don't remember. I feel like at that, I'm scared to re-listen to it because I feel
like yours was your earnesty or something. It was your ability to be authentic. I think it was something really nice.
I hope I spoke true to how I actually felt or something, because I felt at that time, 2020, I don't know, just where I was, I've always been kind of insecure about how I articulate myself to people and I don't know. I just feel at that time I was sometimes kind of saying what I think would be more the right answer, or what I think would be, rather than just be honest and be I don't know, speak on maybe, I don't know, just be a little more honest or something. Not in that I was lying or something.
No,
but,
I think.
You know what I mean?
100%. Because I certainly, it's not an fake or inauthentic. It's genuinely what you understand people are supposed to do or supposed to say.
Yeah.
Because it's well, I thought that's what all of you were doing. Oh,
right.
You know what I mean? And so
yeah.
I found when I would go back and watch sort of content from that time when everyone was struggling with identity, and what was nice when I listened back is, yes, we all had that feeling of not quite imposter, sometimes just not understanding. It's what I call a lot of this podcast for, because I'm a literal princess is what Sudi calls it, where when someone's this is what I'm doing, I just put something on the page. I'm what does that mean? I don't get it. What does that mean for you? And so when I looked back during that time at some of the content that was being made, I can tell why we might have felt that way, because there's certain just moments for anyone that it doesn't really seem true to what they've evolved to be, but the kernel of who we are is in it in such a pure, wonderful way that I really appreciate it. And there's not cringe to it or denying of self in any way.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet. And I feel this is this podcast, the premise of it is part of the evolution of that jumps off from that, you know?
Totally, which is exactly what I love that, because it's so meta. It's exactly what I'm saying, where it's the kernel of this was there. And maybe I wanted to expand, but thought I had to keep a specific topic because that's what you're supposed to do. But it wasn't because I was denying parts of myself. I just didn't know I could. And it's the permissions that have come along the way with speaking with other people.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, that's so beautiful, Mo.
You're so brilliant. Well, you and I were instant friends through our friend Jay.
Shout out, Jay.
Oh, Jason was a
love
wonderful
him.
person. Oh my God, what day is it? Okay, never mind. I do this thing every single year where I wish him the biggest, happiest, best birthday. And then for the whole rest of the month of April, then it's Aries season. Because he's March 28th. He's March Aries. I think I forgot his birthday.
Right, totally. Oh my God, yeah.
We're fast friends, but I also think it's because you can sort of wax poetic and also be funny. And I appreciate that quality in you because we can dance between being goofaloofs and also crying at the sunset, that sort of.
Yes.
So to that point, can you tell listeners a little bit? We can start about your process with your current show that you're touring. Can you give us a too long didn't read?
Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to talk about the show.
Let's figure it out.
Because recently I was with a friend and he introduced me to his really good friend, and he was talking about me to he was telling his friend, oh, Richard has a show. It's so funny. He's amazing. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, friends.
Trying to describe it and describe me in front of me to his friend.
Hell.
And and I'm like, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, it's nothing. It's, yeah.
It's not, it's very dumb. But he was his friend was just oh, what's your show? Asking to clarify. And it took me about 8 entire minutes to try to explain. Yeah. But also at the same time, I'm like, this doesn't sound like it could be necessarily funny. So kind of just I swear you kind of just have to be there. I don't know. But I have a solo show called I Have to Do This. And I've been working on it for almost 3 years, directed by my friend Charlie Bardet. And the show is essentially, I am telling a love story, a budding relationship through different phases of intimacy, connection, but they're built out through these scenes where I'm alone on stage and I'm pantomiming what's happening in this relationship that I'm trying to build out. Which sounds so what the hell? That's, I don't know. A part of me is just that sounds like it's probably really bad or really cheesy. And maybe it is. And that's fine. But
well, listen, and being reduced, I always would balk at marketing things. Cause being reduced to a sentence is absolute hell. And it's not being misunderstood. It's also just I want people to know what they're getting into. And I don't think I'm this, but it's that.
Right.
But I also think your show, it's one of those things where you could describe any show and it could be eye roll. But if you say that, Elaine Stritch is doing it, you don't have more questions. And I think your quality is that where it's yes, the structure is vignette, intimacy sketches with one person who is creating the world around them, but is also you doing it. And that is the quality that you can't necessarily describe to somebody who doesn't know. And it's difficult. Then you also have to look at yourself and be what is the quality that people would most buy in? Do I say I'm that in the first sentence?
Totally right. And yeah, I haven't found it yet, but I just hope people come and enjoy it when they do. And if they don't, that's okay.
Sure.
This is my first time doing something like this and putting on a show. And I have another show too that I do, but this one, it just all feels new.
Yeah. And not stand up. It's a one person show that's not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's not a stand up show, but yeah, that would be how, for now, I describe it.
Well, what's fun is also all of it's meta and living because it's a show about intimacy. And my character in my play last year at Fringe was similar in that it's a show about connection and intimacy and other people, but it's one person, which is its own sort of commentary on the intimacy of it. And then the meta nature is how intimate for an entire audience watch you literally pantomiming relations with no one, but it's all of us watching, which is that is the intimacy. Right. And I think it's so exciting when writing of trying to figure out what are organic points where the story is exemplifying the themes or where, like I always wonder that when it's like we're talking about themes and like great filmmakers, and I'm like, do they know their themes? Like, do they know while they're doing it, or is it organically coming out? I don't know that process, and I have fun parsing through it.
Right. Because the first time I did the show, it kind of just, I mean, maybe it started a few different places kind of subconsciously, like throughout my creative like path. But I remember I made like 2 videos. I was dog sitting for someone. She had a really beautiful kitchen. And so I was completely alone in her home with like a lot of downtime. And so I just filmed myself pretending to do dishes, but I was like pretending that there was someone else there, like a boyfriend, flirting with me or like kissing my ear or something while I'm trying to do dishes. And I'm like, you're ridiculous. Like, stop. So it started like as a baby idea that way. And then I was simultaneously starting to perform live and really trying to figure out what I like doing. And I deeply am figuring out like, doing lineups and stand-up shows and, material. And so I remember like that following summer, I had 2 shows. And one night, it was like my first time having something like that. And I was really, really nervous because I felt like everything I was doing, I was just like, I don't know. I'm kind of embarrassed. And, like I'm just trying things.
Yeah.
And so I was like, but what if I like took this idea and I did it live, and I can maybe lie to the audience and say that it's a play, or, build it up, and
whatever makes you feel good.
Yeah. And then I even like joked to the audience that the show is called I Have to Do This. And then, so it started as a 10-minute set. And then I hear from someone from Life World reached out and invited me to.
She's my dear friend.
Yeah, Julia.
Yes. Julia Mounsey, artist and creator and genius and wonderful. Yes.
Yeah, legit. So wonderful. And Julia reached out and was like, oh, would you want to host, a night in the fall? Could be like a lineup or whatever you want. And so I said yes to kind of I'm like, I just got to do this and figure it out. And so from there, I felt like I just started to build out these scenes. And I feel like Charlie really helped me see that like there is a through line and there is something happening. But I feel the creative part of it, I don't know, it's just like building out these scenes, sequencing them, putting them together. It really reminded me of like almost this foundational way that I approached even like my artwork in college. I went to school for photography, and my thesis show was called Wherever You Go. And I feel like, I guess when I look back, or just getting feedback about the show, and, the people tell me that they feel like they can see the kitchen, they can see like where the roller coaster ride's going, or the other person, I'm them, they're me, like that kind of thing. I feel like I've always had that kind of interest with photographs too, and laying a sequence out that, because I took photographs of like, candids and just like things that I was that felt living, that I was just responding to, but it's not like I was making the work necessarily like this is a diaristic, about me and my life, and not necessarily. I think those things were more private. Yeah. But the sequence of images, I was more curious about like this broken narrative that people can project onto and kind of take their own associations with them or something, or their own like. So I think in some way like that kind of carries through creating this show.
Is anyone out there?
Another salesperson enduring the endless search. Exhausting. If you want to get right to the right conversations, you need LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Whether you're looking for new leads or strengthening existing relationships at your top accounts, get right to the right conversations with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Try LinkedIn Sales Navigator now with a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial.
Terms and conditions apply!
That's your money saying it's time for a McDonald's run. Because with new McValue at McDonald's, you get more than you expect. Like buy a 6-piece McNuggets and add a McChicken for just $1. Your money says let's go. Get more than you expect with new McValue. Prices and participation may vary. Valid for item of equal or lesser value.
1000%. Because one of the things I appreciate about photographers is like, especially the hard part is that like kids are trained to story time, to TikTok, to say, here are the facts about me. And if your story is told and you're saying everything that you like and do, it is intimate. Like you get to know me. But facts are not intimacy. Like information is not intimacy. And I love the idea that through photography, right, it feels like there's this veil of protection, like you're not telling us. But if someone deigns to understand, you know, they're seeing what you chose to look at, what inspired you. And it's so much more intimate than knowing like necessarily details. It's like, this is what I felt was worth framing, putting in a photo, taking a photo and capturing. And that says everything about the photographer. And I think because that's the time where they are unobserved, right? When they're taking the picture. And you in your vignettes, Richard, pantomime's the word for it, but it's like, what it reminds me of is when I was a little kid and I'd be in my room dancing to music where like there is no one in the world. Like you are so dropped into the imagination that you're creating of like, you're not in your room, you're not in a mirror, and you're able to do that in front of people. You're able to like leave, but you're so in where you are, people can't not build the world with you. And I just think that's an exciting pivot from, which is like, mind you, very meaningful facts and stories that need to be told. But I do think it would serve to see more of the intimacies that are not necessarily one-to-one or directly told. And I'm excited by the work you're doing in that way.
Oh, thank you so much. I don't know. The process of it has just been like really, sometimes I'm just like, okay, I want to, I know what I'm doing. Like I see some of the themes, you know, are written in it or something, or I'm aware of it, but I like when I'm not necessarily. And it's kind of just coming out and it's unfolding and it's just, you know, I think that makes it a little bit more exciting or even a little sadder that this is so subconsciously something I'm making that I'm not even.
It's more vulnerable.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily fully aware, you know, like I can't see the show myself. Like I've never seen it. So I'm like, I don't know. Something about it just really excites me to just keep building it and you know, it's a work in progress. I'm still, you know, figuring it out and rewriting and tweaking certain things, but.
Well, to your process, right, to like tweaking and writing, I'm a little bit intrigued with not just like, I understand how you can like, you know, kind of build a world as somebody who is trained as a photographer, how you can see a vision and think very visually. But I'm curious with even your beginning in comedy, because I met you before you had fully started like actively performing, and it was a wonderful moment to watch because it feels like once you make decisions, you're off to the races. Like it was such a quick change to like fully be immersed. And one thing I keep running into with so many artists is it's like they'll use stand-up as like a launch pad for the other thing they want to do, or like come back to it when they need to figure it out. So how does that work for you process-wise with writing and all of this and how it's evolved?
I feel, I don't know. Because I feel like there was like a bit of limbo. I feel like I had these years where I was just really, I felt a bit lost, and I felt like I was kind of in this like, it felt dark when I look back on it, but it wasn't all negative necessarily. But like, I stopped taking pictures, and I felt a lot of shame around that. And I felt really like I kind of failed, and I'm like, oh, I set out to do this thing and it's gone. Like, you know, I can't, I didn't do it. And,
Totally.
And then for a few years, I don't know. I think I just started to want to express myself. I mean, I think I've always had that sort of, like, I've always been so inspired by like singers and, you know, performers, actors, like expressive people. Like I've always been so inspired by that, by like people that can just really like pull you into their emotional, like they take you on the ride with them. And, you know, like that's just so gripping and really life affirming. And so I think during that period, I was just like, well, I was just making like dumb videos, like just to have fun. And it was fun for me. But I was starting to like, I don't know, just like, I wasn't doing open mics. I wasn't performing or anything like that yet. But like, I was aware of like more comedians, and, you know, I wasn't a comedy nerd or anything, or like knew, you know, that much about the world. But like for like in the New York, like alt comedy scene, for sure, I like started to learn more and like see more shows, and I felt so inspired. And then like, I just like felt so scared to try that myself.
Interesting, really.
And I was terrified. And when I met you, I was so like, I don't know, like I was just so like, there's no way I'll ever like I'll ever do that. Like I don't think I have it. I don't think I'm talented enough. But then I contradict myself so much, because it's like, yes, that's of course a voice that's like in your head, and that you're just like, oh, like, you know, I'm undeserving, I'm not enough, or I'm not good enough, or blah, blah, blah. But then like, when you end up like making those choices, or you take those risks, or you start trying those things, like, especially when you keep going, it's like, well, yeah, I think there is a part of you that does believe you can do something, or you wanting to see something through a little more, because you believe in it, you know, to a certain extent. So I'm just like, once I finally like started like after lockdown, and then I don't know, I just feel like everything kind of just opened up.
Yeah, but I think that's because of you, though. Like, here's my thing. It's not contradiction. I think when people say things like, I always knew, or like, I didn't think I was going to make it, or I didn't think I ever could, I don't even think it's a contradiction. I think like, once we have done something, we're like, of course it was always going to happen. But we forget that there was a part of us who did have to battle the demons to get to that yes. And there was a part of us that did always know, who helped us get through that.
Right.
And that's the difficulty in trying to honor destiny and choices at the same time. And so like, it is funny, because I think of it as very like multi-world timelines, because, you know, there's, you know, now that I'm older and I can affirm it, I've always been able to see someone very quickly and be like, oh, this, like, if you want what you're saying you want, yes, that's a full timeline for you. And for you, that was like abundantly apparent, like, you know, just your energy, what you saw, what you like, what your artistry. But it's, to me, always interesting, because I go, people don't have to battle that demon. People don't have to choose that timeline, that life. And it is exciting when they do, and it's the one that they really hoped for, because you can find happiness in many iterations, of course, and you probably could have started painting, you know what I mean? You're the type who could have really dug down into that, but it feels like it opened up because you were like, okay, I have enough energy and momentum, and I'm going to say yes to this part of me.
Right. That's so true. And I really needed to hear that. I really appreciate that.
I feel that way really strongly, because I remember we were at Jay's birthday at that one bar in Brooklyn. And I was like, you are like literally effervescent. I was like, oh, yeah, of course. That's a no-brainer.
I remember also you and I were talking, and I forgot how we got on the topic, but I think I hadn't heard of bottom line beliefs at that time. You know, like this was like 2018. Yeah. And we were talking about it, and it was just like, you know, everything stems down to like, you know, I'm unlovable. And
I love this. Like, we'll clip just that.
Yeah.
and I said, yes, and that's what I told you.
And that's what I told you. God, I love what I do. Yeah.
I knew I'd make you a star.
But that really like stuck with me, and it's something that I've thought about a lot over the years, and honestly is like a big part of creating even like this show or something, you know, like, I mean, I don't know, I feel like that, like hearing that, having that conversation, I like heard that, and I was like, oh, I like took it in, and I was like, interesting. And then it took a little bit of time for me to like really, really see it for myself, and really hear that voice like in my own head, and you know, going through all these other changes, like, helped unlock that for me. And, you know, one was like, I've been sober since March 2020.
Congrats! Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
thank you. So it's been like 5 years. And, but like, I remember in the fall of 2021, that fall, oh my God, like I felt insane. But it wasn't negative. It wasn't all bad. Like it just felt like everything started all over again. But I just have to do this through a new lens and through a new way of living and like engage with life differently. And I went on a date with someone, but it turns out it wasn't, he didn't know it was a date. And
cool.
so
I love dating. It's cool. It's easy.
So I was like so embarrassed.
Oh my
And
love.
so like he brought a friend and we were like, oh, we're all gonna go to this like other party after dinner that his friend he brought to dinner.
Also,
and so,
I arrest him. It was probably a date, and he was probably like, "What? Yeah, blah,
yeah.
Blah. Okay, but keep going."
But I felt so embarrassed, and then I remember we got in the car, and I was just spacing out, and I was so like, and then the thought, like that train of thought, I was like, oh, well, of course he wouldn't go on a date with me. Like, why did I think it was a date? Like, who would ever go on a date with me? Of course they wouldn't go on a date with me. They wouldn't go on a date with me because I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough, this is this. And then eventually, like, I just heard the voice, like, oh, I'm unlovable. And I'd known that voice my whole memory or, like, my whole time having a memory. Like, I've known that, but it really, really hit me in the car that night. And I was like, oh, word. Like, this is such a huge part of, like, why I did and didn't do certain things, like, throughout my life. And, you know, so that felt really, really huge. And then I felt like, you know, the time after that, I feel like I've just kind of, like, processed it and like worked with it. Yes. But it's opened me up tremendously. I mean, now I'm doing this and this feels crazy. Like, I'm like, wow, I knew in my heart that I could perform or that I could get on stage and do something like this. Like, of course, I did have a faith or a hope, a really big hope. But I also just was like, oh my God, I'm like so far away from, I don't know how I'll ever, or what it'll take for me to like open up or for me to do something like that.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This message comes from Greenlight. Ready to start talking to your kids about financial literacy? Meet Greenlight, the debit card and money app that teaches kids and teens how to earn, save, spend wisely, and invest with your guardrails in place. With Greenlight, you can send money to kids quickly, set up chores, automate allowance, and keep an eye on your kids' spending with real-time notifications. Join millions of parents and kids building healthy financial habits together on Greenlight. Get started risk-free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Oh my gosh, I'm a slower processor. I will sob this afternoon. I'll tell you that about that. But I appreciate you even bringing this up now too, because one, I'll explain bottom beliefs about being unlovable to the listeners. So everyone just believe you're unlovable. What I adore this to the process of creation is sometimes we only value the times we're working on the page as being a part of the process. And we assume those times we aren't taking photos have nothing to do with what you're making now. And it's like, no, when you are processing the emotions and the feelings that are holding you back from making those decisions, from being free artistically, that is a holy alchemy of the blocks within the psyche that is allowing your artistic highway to run smooth. And what bottom beliefs are that I was teaching a lot of folks during, I'm like Reiki trained, Theta trained, all this energy work. And in Theta, I think I was probably talking at that time because I had finished like the final level of something and I was telling everyone like, but one of the techniques I appreciate so dearly and still use, and I appreciate the folks like you who like take that in, because when you have a pattern or a fear or something you want that feels blocked, you start digging for the bottom belief that is the root that might feel like it is dictating all of these decisions or these spiral thoughts, because you can't just keep laterally moving from like, okay, so, you know, I'll be alone forever. Say that's the belief, whatever it is. And that doesn't feel like a bottom belief. It feels like a fear top spiral. So then you dig, you go, okay, well, what's the worst part that would happen if you're alone forever? Like, or like, and it's like, well, if I'm alone forever, you know, I'll never have anything I want. I'll never have anything I desire. And okay, what's the worst part if you have nothing you desire? Well, I won't even exist. Well, what's the worst part if you don't exist? Like, and you have to ask yourself all these really big questions with your psyche in a sort of Socratic method way. And it usually comes down to pretty basic beliefs like I'm unlovable, or I don't exist is a big one. And what I love about you saying you're sitting with that feeling is then what you get to do at the bottom is go, amazing. Okay, when did this belief begin and how did it serve me? Because we don't have beliefs like that. Like, we so often will be like, I believe that I'm a piece of shit. It's like, whoop, 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 whoop.
Right.
like, back up. No, because a part of you, right, maybe was a child, like you, the proverbial you, the listener, maybe it was a child, right, who's either full abandoned, right, a parent passed away, a parent left. And instead of processing such a massive grief that a child cannot do, it is much easier to think that you can control it and are unlovable. And it protected you from having to process a grief that you needed years to go through and time to understand. And so when you get to this bottom belief, it's so much easier to gently thank it and let it go. Or as you say, decide to take boundaries or be sober, like, which has a direct effect on you being on a stage next week. Like, it is so integral to the process, but I find our value to it when it is not immediately producing a joke or a thing. We just don't give it, you know? Thank you I'm so glad to give the listeners an opportunity to explain that. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, of course. I mean, thank you for sharing that with me all those years ago. Like, it just, it stuck with me. And like, just now with that in mind, I felt like creating this show was just part of it, you know, like, or part of it that was like in conversation with myself about that, you know. I
just got chills. I literally just got chills. Yes, 100%.
It's not like I'm like trying to necessarily be like, hey, everyone, you need to think about of course, if someone takes that away from them, you know, that's what they felt, that's how it touched them or something. I'm so like over the moon, like that's amazing. But that's not what I'm trying to necessarily for the audience raise or something, or like bring up for them necessarily. Like, I think it's part of the creation of it was just to like work with myself with like, you know, put myself in these scenes or, you know, this fantasy or like this sort of ridiculous, like have these conversations that I've never had or I don't know.
Or desire
fully,
to have. Yes.
Or I desire to have or anything, and to put that on stage, like to share that with people and kind of also poke fun at it or like have fun with it. And it's just been very, in some ways, like healing and in other ways just generative and expansive. And I feel like sometimes I'm like, I feel like I am doing the type of thing I want to do on stage, like perform in the way that I really had hoped for. So, and I want to keep exploring that and just, you know, see what else I could do.
Oh, and I have so many things to say that. I love that because I think you also like, you don't judge the character / you that you're performing, which is why you can explore so many spaces where when it's alt comedy, it's usually like, and this probably means this, right? It's like, no, just like be perceived. And guess what? You can't control it.
Yeah.
But one thing I wonder is like, I wonder how many spaces there are to fuck up anymore. And you take such big swings. Are you revealing any of the things when you're doing interviews, like any of the parts of your show?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so there's a scene where Richard is on a roller coaster with a partner and mimes out to the point where you're like, it reminded me of like America's Best Dance Crew, you know, when they would like slow and you could see G-force, you know what I mean? Like the Jabberwockies.
Jabberwocky.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It did because like the way Richard commits and like what happens is it's like a G-force sort of roller coaster and Richard's character like passes out and then comes back and then like is about to throw up and then passes out again. And it's like, it is so I genuinely could watch you do a show that is just that for 1 hour. And because it would cycle from being like just impressive to hilarious to then like, it was like a baby. And so it's like, that is such a huge swing to do that and decide that one of your whole sketches is going to be you trying to talk while on a roller coaster, pantomiming, passing out from G-force. But I'm excited to hear what you think when it comes to taking swings. Like when you're wanting to explore that, that's hard to do at an open mic. That's hard to bomb.
Yes.
That's hard to,
oh my God.
So how are you doing that? Like, how are you finding it?
I'm kind of really like questioning right now. I don't know what I'm like, because I feel like creating that show is kind of what could build out these sketches more, because I'm like, okay, I'm doing these shows, or it's like part of it, or I'm like rehearsing. I would rehearse a lot in the beginning of it with like Charlie, just alone, just us two, and I'm like doing all these scenes, and also the roller coaster I feel is like that. I do on lineup so much, and that's like, I feel like that could be a way that I, with this show, could work out because I've never written, like, I don't have like a script or anything. Like I haven't like written down the show necessarily.
Ever?
No. And so like
heaven, listeners, anything is possible.
But I've had them filmed, and I transcribed maybe like once, like in 2 years ago, I transcribed a show, and I was like, okay, so these are kind of like the beats.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, and by just doing it again and again, it's written, and it's more like it's tight, and the timing and everything is kind of falling in place. But there's still room for spontaneity and
sure,
and you know, things like that. And so, but also I feel like I framed what I'm about to do around this show. So it really just like, was this whole thing that kind of just could work together. Like me as a comedian doing 10 minutes on someone's show, but I'm also simultaneously building this solo show. Like I don't know. I felt like I tied a lot to it creatively. And now like in the last year and a half, or almost 2 years, I guess this summer will be 2 years, I've been doing this other show that's called For One Night Okay. That's just me doing crowd work mixed with like music. It's just super loose.
Yeah.
And it's almost just me wanting to like just throw things on the wall and just, but like the show is, of course, like it's evolved a lot. It's changed over the past 2 years, but even that I try to like figure out live, like on a 10-minute set or something. So yeah, so I feel like I'm at a place right now where I'm just kind of having to just sit back and be like, well, what do I want? What do I really want to do? Like, what do I want to express in front of people on stage? Like, and what, like, I don't know. And like, maybe don't feel so much pressure of like, is it funny? Is it going to get the biggest laugh? Is it going to be, it's like, no, just what is the thing? I don't know. And maybe a part of me is like, maybe I should, like, what if I did write jokes, or what if I did do a stand-up set? Like, maybe I could do that if I really want to, but if I don't want to, like, I don't know.
You know what? Here's the hard part with that. Cause one, that's just like a part of me is like a little bit allergic when when you say you don't have a script, I get it. Cause for stand-up, I have never once. It is like I'll have my headers, I'll have my beats I have to hit, but I do not have. If I did write my stand up down, I would get too in my head about it.
Totally.
And I couldn't. I just couldn't. And I understand that there are some incredible stand ups that like write them out and do it, regiment it, and amazing. But I don't know, to your point of like discovering that sometimes it's hard. I think that falls under the sort of permission invitation thing, where as an artist, we're like told, you know, what do you really want to do on stage? It's like, I want to do everything under the sun. Like, what do you mean what? Like, so it's almost nicer to have someone invite you to do something insane, invite you to do something dumb or serious, and like, instead of having the pressure of choosing from infinity. Like, you know what I mean? Because I think when you want to do a bunch of stuff on stage and someone's like, just really decide, it's like you don't understand. I'm not looking for the thing I'm supposed to do. I'm looking for the feeling that the thing will give me.
Yeah, right.
And that's tough.
100%.
You know,
it's hard.
It really is. But I don't know. I think like part of it is nice because you have like a Charlie in your life who can say, do this. And then you're like, got it. Like, let me explore this. Let me go bigger on this. And like, you can help. I think you do need trusted comedic friends to help you edit when it comes to where else do I want to move next.
Right. That's true. Yeah. I want to just take some risks and have fun with it too. Like, no pressure. Like,
because not risk to be subversive. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Risks that are giggly and stupid and like,
just like have fun with it.
What is that like? Is there any formation of what that's looking like in your head right now?
I mean, well, with the crowd work show, I do like lightly having like a loose outline. Like I like that structure a lot or at least someone can make it look that way. But it's like I love like just having these like pillars to like jump to of like these different like monkey bars, like
completely,
and just be like boom, boom, boom. So I don't know. I'm kind of wanting to explore, like have a little more confidence in, okay, these are decisions I'm going to make going into it, and like play with what that could be. Yeah. And just feel it out. And then also just trust myself and be like present in the moment when I'm performing, kind of straddle between those two things.
I have a similar impulse, and I always think, I worry that the way that is satisfied is like a dedication that I don't have the energy for, because I look to magicians for that, because they make commitments for things to happen at the beginning of the show that you're like, how are we ever going to get there? Right. And so I'm kind of like, you know, I'm not obviously going to do magic, but I would love showmanship in that way of like these commitments. And then I'm like, oh, I don't want to learn that. Like, I don't want to learn that structure.
Right. I know what you mean. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I don't know. I'm kind of feeling tension. Yeah. It is. So,
but it's interesting. So how long, so you've been doing the show for a minute. So how long do you plan to, like, is it still expressing something for you? Is it still satisfying something?
I have to do this?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Like I feel like in more recent times I've done the show, it feels even more like solid, or it feels more like theatrical. It feels more like sculpted. And so I want to just keep seeing it through. And I get surprised like all the time and with each show, and sometimes like different things I come up with, like, but that are small to me, like that I'm like, oh yeah, this was like funny. Like this, I was surprised that I threw this in there, this one little movement, this one little line, like whatever. And I should do it again and just keep exploring that. So, and also just like lighting and it just like tech too, because the first year there was no like lights on, lights off, like that's it.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, oh, like I would love to take this further and just have a full tech, like, you know, and a stage, like a set or something, and I don't know, just try to see it through, just step a little closer. So that's where I'm kind of at. I'm like, I'm really curious.
I love that, because I also think stand-ups and comedians like Sudi and I realized this midway through like kind of going through my tech and stuff, like we still write and create like we're Brooklyn comics in a bar, where it's like they probably won't have tech, so like
Totally right.
you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, okay, how do we get our PowerPoint on? It's like, oh no, we can ask for that. We can dream in this world. Like,
yeah, right.
but which is hard because it's like obviously, what is it? Containers like help you create, what was the word? Boundaries, like help you. Parameters. It's easier to create within parameters, and sometimes, budget and venue give you that. But then when you have no parameters and it's like, Richard, you can build the biggest set you want. You can do anything you want. It's also the gluttony of that. Like,
right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That would be like, what the hell?
Your dream set would probably be like really, really like.
I'd fly.
You'd fly.
At some point. And I'd be like, guys,
it has to be at the wrong point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wait, what? Like
Yeah.
I'd bite an apple or something.
It's like, it has to be, I think, not even right after. It has to be right before the roller coaster, where it's like you would fly.
Or during the roller coaster, I just like fly up, screaming in the air.
Leave. Just absolutely leave. No, so that would be the worst part, to pass out, because then people would be really worried about you. That'd be pretty funny.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. And it's just my limping body like floating over everyone.
That would be so funny. Oh,
So-
okay, budget. We gotta give you a budget.
Yeah, honestly, that is giving me ideas.
Are you going to continue to? I know. Are you going to continue touring it?
Yes, I am. I'm bopping around to a few cities this spring, so I have a few more times to keep running it. But I want to figure out like what I really would love to have a run somewhere and get to really experience the show. Yeah. Multiple back to back.
Have you thought about Fringe?
I thought about Fringe. I've been wanting to. I wanted to do it this summer, but I just feel like financially, it's so expensive. I can't afford it.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think anyone who's like bankrupting themselves for that experience, it's like, no, there's better ways. But if you have the ability to do it, it is tough because there aren't any spaces here where you can get reps, where you can do daily shows and
it's all spread out.
And I wish like maybe we'll keep talking enough people that it creates itself, because the thing is about it, it's not even getting good. It's you have to do so many shows that you so quickly, like a parent, they so quickly see what's valuable. Like this is what matters, this is what doesn't. I can't think about this. And so like, it's just so much easier to see what has value and what needs to be changed and what doesn't, instead of like seeing so precious with like every little thing. It's like, you can't, there's no time.
Right. Totally. And because I mean, that's how like just getting into stand up as well. At first it was like, if I have 2 shows in 1 month, I'm freaking the fuck out.
Same,
and I'm like, what am I gonna do? And then eventually it's like, then sometimes there's some periods where it's like you got like 15 or 17 shows in 1 month. And then it feels different. And you're kind of just like, then
I'm rolling up no set. And I'm like, what's up?
Right, you're like, blah, 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 blah. It's
I forgot. I didn't get to any of my jokes. Yeah. 100%.
Right. But then like, I don't know. So I feel like with this show, it's always been like, a month apart or a few months apart. And, so each time it approaches, which I'm thankful for, I get the nerves and I'm like, am I going to remember everything? Like, oh my God, like I should have written this shit down. Why didn't I do that?
I have that where's that transcript?
I don't have one. And then I get on stage and I'm like, okay.
Okay, I'm a star.
And it's fun. And then,
okay, I'm eating this up. You're sick.
How did you find Fringe, if I may ask?
I have lots of opinions. I didn't have any associations with Fringe. People had to explain really what Fringe was to me beforehand. So people's idea of like it being a finish line or a huge goal. So with respect to, I know it's a huge institution and a huge honor for many people. I didn't have that same stakes. It was more like I was deeply excited to get to show the show, to do this, to do it many times. And going in with that, that's what happened. I was grateful to have the show reviewed at all. That was nice. Cause like again, I'm a former athlete. That's like how I identify, not even as like an actor. I'm like, so I loved getting reps, getting good stats, getting, and honestly, the friendships that came out of that, it's like there's no space where it's like high school again, where you're just seeing people every day. Like the intimacy isn't like so direct. It's just like you're around each other and you become so close. And you're doing creative things. So I walked away with some of the deepest friendships immediately. Yeah. So I'm grateful for Fringe. I think it's amazing. But when people say you should or shouldn't do it, that has nothing. I think it's
so up to you and like what how you're entering it,
what your goal. And I think I found out all the people who like told me like it's going to be hard, it's going to be so hard, had different value systems. Like a lot of people want 100%. Certain reviews, certain things,
right?
And I think you're probably going in the same one where you're like, I would love this experience and this feeling.
Of so just like running it and being like, okay, night to night, how is this feeling? Like, this is how I know it's like, this felt right. That didn't feel good. That, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
completely.
would you like tweet, like edit it too? Like throughout the run?
It was very tough because I was like, my location was a little bit, we called it the leaky cauldron because there was like a lot of tech issues and I had to bring 2 computers every single day to work and set up the tech within the 5-minute turnover. And then I was like resewing my costume every day. So if I could do edits, it was pretty tight though because I had, I think, 137 tech cues. So that one I couldn't edit so much, especially if I'd have a new tech, if there were certain lines in the script, they were just having to follow on script that day. And I was blessed by many, many helpful volunteers at Fringe who would be like, hey, I'm not working today, but I'll come do the show again so you don't have to teach a whole new tech. Like, so in that space, because there was not a lot of space for editing, but like Demi Adejuibe, his show, like he was constantly growing. He had like Soho Playhouse was like sponsoring him, so he had like more people who could logistically do some of those things and shift with the tech. And so that was really fun to watch him edit if something wasn't working or to the city or whatever it is. But yeah, I think that part, if you have the time and space, I also was working my day job and doing the pod. So it was like, there wasn't a ton of time.
Right.
And I don't know. I think you are also someone like who could do a run here. I think a lot of people do it to get notoriety and have a run in the US, and you could. And part of me just goes like, if you have time and want to do this and feel creatively exercised and money, go do it. If not, to any of that, do not. And you're not, you have the ability to get that feeling elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because it is very exhausting and a lot of money, and it's,
right.
You know.
It's such a tremendous commitment.
It really is. It really is. And it's cool. And like my life changed because of it in so many ways. But again, I'm so explicit with people about like, what would you want to get out of it? Because if you're not clear about that, then you're going to be upset and poor.
100%. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Well, speaking of Fringe, which created this podcast.
Right.
We are getting to the end of it, and I have a final segment that I would love to hear from you. And it is called Thank You for Holding My Poems. And it is a concept around the idea of bringing our edits and unfinished stories, poems, moments to be witnessed by other friends, artists, strangers on the street, to be seen in our not fully evolved form, and how that is the most healing and connective intimacy possible. The example can be, a poem could be the Sistine Chapel, but a poem could be on the worst day of your life, a barista said you have incredible hair, and you felt like you could keep going. Like poems are such beautiful moments, I think. And I'm wondering if anything comes to mind to you where maybe an unseen moment, might be small, but felt impactful to you in your creative life.
Well, very recently I did a show in Chicago, and I usually don't ever go out and like say hi usually, or like
really? Do you stay back?
I hide in the green room like for a while after every show.
I do too.
I'm just like, I don't know. And it's not even like, it's like the show can go well, but I'm like,
I'm exhausted.
I don't know, overwhelmed or something. And
Yes.
I'm kind of just like, I'm just going to hide over here. Or also like, I'm like poking holes at everything. And I'm like, every interaction or any compliment, I'm like, I don't know.
Is that passive aggressive?
I was like, yeah. And I'm like, is that the truth? They really mean that? Like that? And I'm like, dude, no, just take it in.
And
like,
probably,
who cares? Like, you're
but it's
good.
also because you're just in a vulnerable space right after a show. You've just like put your whole heart open. So it's like, no, that makes sense. You'd protect that energy.
So I usually like kind of just hide in there. But then I felt like, also like I did the show like a few days prior to this one in the story. And so I felt already like maybe a little more like in it, which I would love to do a run to kind of just see it out a little more. Anyways, so I go say hi to some friends. And then there was a couple that approached me and they were probably like 21 or something. They just like seemed really old. I mean, what am I saying? Seemed really young.
Nope, keep it in. Nope, keep it in. That's clipped as well. Unlovable and really old at 21.
Really old. Why did I say that? I mean, I think I meant to say 21 years old, and I held on to old or something. My brain just did
liar. Keep going. Yeah.
No. But they were around like in their early 20s, and that's a vibe I got. And they were this like queer couple, and they just like came up to me and like were saying very kind things about the show, but they expressed to me too that they drove from Nebraska to go to Chicago to see, just to like have a night together, go on this like romantic, this beautiful drive and like go see a show. And then, but they felt like they were just kind of like, yeah, like there's not really a space like this where we live. And so I've just been like thinking about that lately, and it made me sad, but I also felt like it was just like something to offer some like perspective.
That's heavenly.
And so I'm really thankful for that encounter, but I'm like processing it. It was lovely.
I think that's such a beautiful poem, because sometimes when you're hard on yourself or say that wasn't good, or you're like, oh, other people are doing this, it's like when someone comes and says like, hey, like our week, our day, our work taking off time was like focused around you and like the impact and the show, like you made us feel seen and we wanted to do this. We've seen you online enough that it takes that action, and it brings you down to a space where you go, oh my God, I'm doing it. Like I don't necessarily, like, yes, sure, the success I want will come, the run will come, but it's like, this is the whole point. This is the whole point. Thank God. And it's such an affirmation of like, I'm doing something that means something. It can be silly and dumb, but it means something. That is so heavenly. Yeah.
So it was so, it was just very moving. And just thinking about them.
Poem. No, I think about it at the end of my play. I talk about the poem is stemming from that, where this moment where, like, after a horrible experience, this nurse just runs into her and is like, "Oh, you're so pretty," and it wasn't a compliment. It was just that someone existed. Like it was like it was seen, and I think in a very Rube Goldberg machine, those little moments, like for you right now, might seem like just someone, but it ripples out. It makes you make another choice, a different it makes you feel it's invaluable.
Yeah, definitely. And also just to like just like receive it and kind of like move forward and keep yourself a little more open and and just just
and know you're
going.
making that impact. I love this. That makes me so happy. All right, my wonderful Richard. Well, we are coming to the end. Is there places that I know LA and New York can find you in the coming month? Is there other places in the internet or people can find you?
I'm on Instagram, Richard_Perez. I'm going to be doing this show in New York on April 27th. And in May, I'm in LA. Hopefully, maybe when this comes out, I'll figure out San Francisco.
Ooh, fun.
but I'll be in Seattle, Portland, and Boston.
Okay. Whoa, coast to coast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I was like Seattle, Portland. I was like
ping pong. Just be on a roller coaster.
Oh my God, people literally ask you what your like tour schedule is, and it's just beep 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 across the whole country. Well, this has been heaven, and I end by giving the listeners and yourself a compliment, and I say, "Oh my God, you're so pretty."
Oh, so sweet.
Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick is hosted by me, Mo Fry Pasick. You can learn more about this week's guest and the Worse Than You team by checking out the show and episode copy. Worse Than You with Mo Fry Pasick is executive produced by Erica Ghetto, Mariah Gossett, and Lauren Mandel for Good Get and Disco Nap Productions. Oh my God, you're so pretty. Yes, and that's what I told you.
And that's what I told you. God, I love what I do.